modern day and Darwinism. Even though Darwinism does have its validity, evolutionary theory of today would be unrecognizable by Darwin. Like he would have to learn it all over again. So Darwin's theories, even though a lot of people don't like them, and a lot of people don't like them because of what racist ass white people did and took with his theories and did with them, but it still has its validity, and some of it was even substantiated after we had things like the fossil records and carbon dating and things that he actually didn't have. So it has its validities. But today, like Darwin didn't know anything about, he didn't have the fossil records, he didn't have carbon dating, he didn't have radiometric dating, he didn't have 80% of the tools that we use today for modern evolutionary theory. So they are
DNA.
different. So just a little note.
Exactly. Go ahead, Rep.
Sorry, we're just sharing the
Thank
live.
you, everyone, for the gifts. Thank you. Thank you.
I did want to add on, even when you had suggested that Europe, life can't begin where it's cold. I mean, that would almost be under the presumption that the entirety of Europe was perpetually cold and doesn't warm up. But I did want to add on to the conversation because as you did ask to remember when the earliest dog was domesticated. So I got ChatGPT open here. And it says that the earliest evidence of dog domestication dates around 20,000 to 40,000 years ago during the Upper Paleolithic period. Genetic studies suggest that dogs, the Canis familiaris, evolved from a now extinct population of gray wolves, with a process likely beginning when wolves started scavenging near human camps. Over generations, tamer wolves benefited from human provided food and protection, while humans gained help in hunting, protection, and companionship. I'll just throw that in there. And as it does say, archaeological finds like a 14,000-year-old dog buried alongside humans in Bonn, Oberkassel, Germany, show that the human-dog bond was already well established by the end of the last ice age. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, Yogi in the comments, yes, baboons absolutely domesticated dogs, right? And this is a thing that's beautiful about the animal kingdom. Because not only are there baboons that domesticates dogs, we see these symbiotic kind of relationships happening throughout the animal kingdom. You see it with sharks and a type of fish that feeds off of the germs, and and algae and all of those things on them. You see this between birds and hippos. I know y'all seen Lion King before. That's a real thing. The birds that was in the mouths of the alligator, they clean the teeth of the alligator. There's these things that's just happening where you are both equally getting something out of this situation. Now, I'm not talking about parasites. like I'm not talking about parasites or just enslaving, because we all know about you know parasitic relationships between animals where only one animal is actually getting something out of it. I'm talking about things that works in both ways, the way the dog and the human were able to work together. Not only was the dog able to get shelter and get food and get protection, we were able to get a hunting partner. We were able to get an alarm system for, for intruders. And we were also able to get another person on the, not a person, but an animal on the battlefield. And if you look into history, you see more and more animals joining our lives to make our lives easier when it comes to like carrier pigeons, when it comes to war horses, when it comes to cows, sheep. Like, we have been integrating ourselves with animals for a very long time, but we tricked ourselves into believing that we were the dominant creature because we were able to do these things. But that's a conversation for another day. I missed if anybody had their hands up before Excel, so forgive me. So I'm gonna go to Excel, and if you wanted to say something, just let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to point out that,
XL, you are extremely low.
Fucking rain got on my fucking phone. I'm
Can
probably
y'all
not.
hear him?
My shit bad. Let me try to drain my.
No, we can't hear him.
It's
It's
not.
real low.
Yeah. XL, try to go out the room and come back. I don't know why you sound low. And I don't want to make the crazy faces I make when I can't hear.
Go sit in a bag of rice.
Not his not his phone broke altogether. But yeah, so just all of these kind of conversations, and I kind of want to. Oh, Axel, do a mic check real quick.
My shit shot. My shit shot. I think that rain got shit. Water got shit.
Yeah, this is not working for you. Ooh, my light cut off. That's not working for you, brother. Yeah. So with that being said, right, I kind of wanted to switch into the abiogenesis kind of conversation for people who never heard of what abiogenesis is. It is it's the process. It's what we call, and I'm gonna be very clear. This is all theory, not even scientific theory, because there's a lot of evidence that still needs to be found out about this. But abiogenesis is basically the first chemicals that was on Earth being able to bond together and to create life and life's complexities, right? So in abiogenesis, you see primitive versions of amino acids, you see primitive versions, you see lipids, you see protocells, you see RNA, you see metabolism, where metabolism comes from, right? And all of this is very important because, and this is for a lot of the people that, don't really believe in evolution like that, but in the way that these lipids come together and the way that they're able to have a metabolism and the way they're able to reproduce themselves or duplicate themselves, because they're not really reproducing, but to duplicate themselves, you literally see this process in the first stages of pregnancy, right? Where the sperm and the egg come together and they start to split apart and become, don't get me into lying about the terms about embryology, but they start to become all of these tiny little cells in your body, right? And then from that, you see a baby be born. You literally go through all of the steps. And let me get my little chart out. You literally go through all of the steps of evolution inside of the woman's womb. So that's why when King Knowledge be talking about we are the creators and the reverence that he has for Black women in particular, I'll be right with it because I know that even the science follows behind what you're talking about. But go ahead, brother. King
I'm
Knowledge.
looking at the abiogenesis, and I'm trying to understand the context of it saying that life originated from non-living matter. And now I have to think about like what is non-living matter that can produce life. Even when a child is being born, the sperm is alive, and also the woman's egg is living, or the cells in the body of that woman is living too. So the matter is living, the matter is alive, the matter is there. So what is the non-living matter that life is originating from?
Okay, so in early Earth, and this is the Hadean period, almost 5 billion years ago, and that's a rough number. I overguesstimated. You have lightning, you have volcanic heat, you have UV radiation coming from the sun. You also have You also have hydrogen. You also have methane gas. You also have all of these different types of chemicals, ammonia, hydrogen, water, molecules, like all of these things in Earth's waters, basically just coming together, right? You also have hydro vents that's at the bottom of the ocean that pumps up chemicals into the ocean. You also have meteor showers, and that's panspermia, where you have like living organisms living on meteors and comets, which still happens to this day, hitting our planet, right? So you have all of these things coming together. And one thing that you can look up is the Miller-Urey experiment, Miller-Urey experiment. And in this experiment, they were able to duplicate what it was like in this Haitian era. They duplicated the high temperatures. They duplicated all the gases that was there, the lightning, all of these things, and they were able to see bonds happening with these chemicals. And in these bonds, they start to change. And that's what abiogenesis is talking about, how lipids naturally have a hydrophilic and a hydropathic sides to them. So what that means is one side, right, this will be the lipid, one side of the lipid loves water, the other side of the lipid hates water, and they automatically bond together, right? So you'll have the outside, the tips of your fingers, that loves water on the outside, and then you'll have the inside that hates water, right, creating cell walls, lipids. And from there they start to create protocells. They start to create letters that is the beginning of the RNA world. So naturally, is what I'm saying, naturally, if you just let these chemicals do its thing on the planet in this time, in the Haitian period, they will naturally bond together. They will naturally start to bring other mitochondria, bring in there's another name that I'm blanking on, but bring into these things, into these cells that can create complex life. Before you ask another question, King Knowledge, I wanted to see if anybody else wanted to add on to it, because I probably Smooth, not you. I'm
Oh,
talking
me?
about the science right now. But I
Okay.
got you. You're gonna be right after King Knowledge, I promise.
Yeah, I have my hand
Go
up, but I think you kind of answered
ahead.
what
You, if you wanted to, you know, further dialogue, that's fine too.
Okay, so just real quick, the process you described kind of answered my question and clarifies it in detail. So thanks for that. But basically, when we say, because the thing is the verbiage of when we say something that's living organisms that came from non-living matter, that's really the process you just described. But when we say a single-celled organism into a multi-celled organism, it's not the same thing as the lipids. You have a lipid, you have a protein and a nucleic acid. It's not that the lipid is making more lipids necessarily, or that the protein is making, it's the protein and the lipid and the nucleic acid coming together. And those are three single-celled organisms. But once they come together, you have a multi-celled organism. For clarity.
Thank you for adding. I appreciate that. We're gonna go to King Knowledge, and then we're gonna go to Smooth.
No, give me 1 second. I'll get back with you in a second. Give me 1 second. Thank you.
No problem. Go ahead,
Hello.
Smooth.
You're talking about biology, the study of cells and how they survive in a certain environment, like something microscopic. Okay, that's what. Okay, I see. I don't understand it, but I'm very willing to listen how it works.
Well, I get that, right? It's new information. I get that. So there's no harm in that. But when it comes down to how chemicals work, right? This is chemistry class. The we've learned about, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, right? But in chemistry that I sucked in, so don't think I was good at it. They used to teach us about chemistry bonds and how to do some math equation and how to create these bonds. Like you don't have oxygen without without two oxygens come together, right? You don't have water without two water molecules. No, two hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule. Like these are bonds coming together and you're seeing what comes from it. We don't think of water as hydrogen and two oxygens. We just think of water as something that's wet and that we shower with. But that's a chemical bond right there. So imagine what these cells and these molecules are able to do when they start bonding in new and different ways and actually naturally selecting themselves. Because that's what we're talking about. We're literally talking about microorganisms, molecules, and natural selection. And it is a hard topic to really wrap your mind around.
Yeah, I like when you use the word natural selection. Even in the animal kingdom, they select what's going to continue the offspring, just like a lioness and a lion in the jungle. So the female really kind of choose who's going to bear this offspring, so to speak.
Just a quick
Yeah,
ad on the
go ahead.
just quick ad on the chemical bonds. And I don't know if Rep if still has his his chat or his perplexity up, but I believe the chemical bond that kind of speaks to why carbon based is what most life are, or why carbon seems to be in so much stuff. I think it's related to the fact that carbon can bond in a more versatile than other elements. So just to that point, and then to extend that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
I would like to add to something. Have you guys
yeah,
ever heard of prokaryotic cells? Like, I'll put
you
it in the
said pro.
comments. Prokaryotic cells. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I'll put it in the comments, and you know what I'm saying. It was something that I was doing research on when it comes down to the black woman, and it was like it's only found in the black woman. You know what I'm saying? And they spoke about it in intensity. I'll have to get some more information and bring it back to you, but I remember the word that was being told to me at the time, and this was it in the comments. Prokaryotes are organisms whose cells lack a nucleus and other organelles. And then it goes on to talk about it to a degree. But the nucleus is the chromosomes that actually make up the paternal DNA. But when it comes to the black woman, remember, she's the one that had the start of the mitochondrial DNA. Now, I understand that you're going even further before that to say that they had, lipids and things like that, or a chemical reaction that came together and life began. But what I have to say is, how is nature so sophisticated if it's so random? If you can
But
understand,
that's
if
the
you're saying that
thing.
life began from this right here, and then you telling me butterflies and caterpillars and hummingbirds and air and people, you know what I mean? Dogs, animals, ants, and all the species all came from a chemical reaction. That takes away the intelligent design, that takes away consciousness, that takes away everything. And I don't think that randomly our bodies were created the way that it is to give us skin, a nervous system, you know what I'm saying, a respiratory system, and the mechanics of the body in itself. Like I said, we can go back to the body and see how sophisticated it is. Then we can go back to nature and see how ultimately sophisticated she is. She's alive. Nature in itself is alive. So we would have to study all of nature from the dirt to the ground to the grass, to everything. And I feel like a lot of these people don't really know, so they make up stuff as they go. Not you, but the Europeans that are trying to study. They come up with these things, but at the end of the day, can they actually get to the bottom of it, or will it always be theories? Can she actually, I'm saying actually or literally, can she be defined? Mother Nature, can she be defined? Can she be figured out? Because now you have to introduce geometry. Did it start with math? Because that's a part of it. You know what I mean? Did it start in the spiritual and then manifest into the physical? Because we're only looking at the physical aspect of it. This and this physically came together to make the physical. But I'm not too sure if that's where the answer lies. Like I said, her sophistication from plants to trees. And then when we go back to the dogs, you cannot get me to believe that one dog created all the dogs. When there's one tree didn't create all the trees, one person didn't create all the people. So how could you go back and say one dog created all the dogs all over the world? That's just what they wanted to tell you. How could you take that as information? Then when we go back to the evolutionary process, you know what I'm saying? If you look up the information and you go into the comments, I'll post it down. It does say that, you know, this is what they say, that people evolved from apes. This is the Darwin evolutionary theory, that people came from apes or people came from monkey and they evolved over time and they got smart and they got consciousness and this, that, and that happened. You know what I'm saying? You can look at it. It says humans, specifically Homo sapiens, evolved from a group of ape-like ancestors with the earliest evidence of human evolution found in Africa. The genus Homo, which includes modern humans and several extinct species, emerged from the genus Australopithecus. Specifically, Homo habilis is considered the earliest documented representative of the genus Homo. So I'm just looking at this in regards to listening to what you guys are saying and saying that that's the all be all. Are we sure that we can trust GBT? Are we sure we can trust that as the ultimate answer? Did they do more research than you did? Or are they just coming back telling you what they're supposed to tell you? And does our common sense actually play, even though ChatGPT is telling you something different? How can you actually pinpoint the origin of life? Pinpoint it, like pinpoint it all the way down to the first cell. How could you do that? How is that possible? And do you think that they're accurate when they do it, when they haven't existed that long? And that's why I go back and I'll land on this. I'll land on this. That's why I go back to when you go into the Anunnaki and when you start reading some of these ancient tablets and these ancient, you know, these scripts and things like that, papyruses, and even when you go into Atlantis and you study that, these people were genetically making senators or whatever you would call them, half man, half horse. You know what I'm saying? This is documented. I'm not saying that this is real, but theology says that they were doing things of this nature. The Anunnaki also says that they were experimenting on life to the point where they came up with a primitive worker. You know what I mean? And they used the animals in order to create this primitive worker. So that's why I said Charles Darwin might have been lying to cover up the fact that we had created people here opposed to natural people here. We had people that were that was used to actually come into this existence and do whatever they needed to do. And you had other people that created these people to do what they needed to do. And the Anunnaki story was they was created in order to actually work, to be slaves. But that's human creation of life. Now, when you pinpoint down to dirt and when you get into ants or when you get into, you know, scarab beetles and things of that nature, are we sure we can actually talk to that degree of where life started from? So where did an ant begin at? Where did a mosquito start from? You know, did it start from lipoids?
Absolutely. They did.
Okay.
All of the life did, right? And we know this, especially when it comes to human beings, and this is where you can see it the best in humans, when a woman is pregnant. And I was talking about this earlier, but the first stages of pregnancy with the fertilized eggs, right? The egg and the sperm is literally a replication of single cell life. Like that's what those are. They're single cell, they're life. They combine together. And then you have the blastula, You have a colonial, like it's like a community of cells that happens inside of our wombs that is producing a baby. We were literally just talking about this when it comes down to abiogenesis, when we were saying how these cells, these things are coming together to make something more complex, right? Then you have the gastrula, right? That is simple multicellular animals. It's the layers, it's the ectoderm, the mesoderm, the endoderm. All of this stuff is early stages of fish life that you see in the womb. Babies literally have gills at 4 to 5 weeks. They have gills. And some babies, right? And I'm not even saying some babies. I should be very clear. All babies have gills. If you are a land moving animal, you have gills at a point in your gestation in your mama's womb. And that just highlights the time where we got our backbones from fish. The fact that we have 4 limbs, it didn't just start with human beings, it started with the amphibians. Like these things happened before we got it. We inherited this stuff. The thing that human beings didn't inherit and that we were able to take and run with was how we were able to use our brains. But I'm going to stop there because my boy had her hand up. Go ahead, Bao.
So yeah, so I raised my hand. It was interesting, like 5 seconds before King Knowledge, you went in the direction of AI. I'm studying AI right now. I'm on my 5th month. I got 2 months to go. But the way that machine learning, the way that machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc., is capable of processing information adds on to human intelligence, right? It allows us to do things and understand things at a pace that far exceeds what our previous ability is. And it's based on our own intelligence in the first place, right? But an example of why that's beneficial to us as humans biologically is when you hear people say, oh, well, how could they have created a vaccine for COVID in such a short time when it took X amount of years to do it in the first place? Well, the reason why is, and I'm saying this not just making it up. I actually went to a conference Amazon Web Services had 2021, and they explained the exact technology that was used in order to address that. And they basically use past knowledge, right? And all of the known information about how a vaccine is developed, and they use machine learning, and they use these technologies in order to map out.
No, I'm not on
Oh,
camera no more to charge my phone. Oh,
You got a
sorry,
hot
Bao.
mic, yes?
no worries. So yeah, so they use these technologies to expedite that process that normally would have taken a human being so many more, whether it be years or whatever the case may be, in order to do it manually or just with, basic thought. But of course, a human is in the loop. That's what we refer to it as keeping a human in the loop in order to confirm, verify, and make sure that it's safe, it's secure, it's true. But nonetheless, that is an example of a human being ever capable to produce something that previously would have taken a long time, right? And that information then becomes part of our current intelligence. And therefore, health-wise, we are able to be more healthy than we ever were. We are able to address health issues better than we ever were able to, which is only going to prolong life and etc. Right? So yes, it was pretty much the answer to what you laid on the table. So I just wanted to speak to that.
Hey, can I respond?
I think I have
I
the
don't
next
know.
hand. I think I have the
Okay.
next hand up.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I really wanted to jump in because we had gotten a little far from when I wanted to respond to initially to Fusion's request with regards to carbon and what allows carbon to create such bonds. I'll try to be quick. So we know that carbon's exceptional bonding ability stems primarily from valences, electrons, and their unique position on the periodic table. enabling it to form strong covalent bonds, including multiple bonds, double bonds, and triple bonds. We got terminology such as tetravalency, which are 4 valence electrons. I won't go into all of the details of each of these, but we also have catenation, which is self-linking. We have the ability to form multiple bonds and moderate electron negativity. But you guys can look those up at your leisure. To your point, King Knowledge, you were asking just to reset the room and kind of give a definitive definition for everyone who's not in the know about the prokaryotes to which you spoke of. So prokaryotes are unicellular organisms that lack a membrane, bound nucleus, and other complex organelles. They represent one of 2 fundamental categories of life, the other being eukaryotes, just as Balboa had indicated. And here's a quick breakdown as to things that are the characteristics of those. Obviously, no true nucleus, no membrane bond organelles. They're generally smaller and simpler, and have a cell wall, reproduction, ribosomes, cytoplasm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I did want to denote was that it's really easy to look at the complexities of life as we know it and ask those questions. You know, we all want to know, what is the true origin? I don't think that ChatGPT or any mechanism at our current level of understanding has the answer to the, you know, the origins of life. Yes, all of these things kind of, you know, generate from a theory, but these theories, you know, are backed up with the factual information that we currently know. When we suggest like the dating back to the wolves example, for example, you know, that's as far back as we can go, you know, anthropologically, paleoanthropologically, you know. So this is like the, you know, we have to keep that in mind when we give these definitions. This is the earliest found. This is not saying that this is the only one. So like when you gave the example of all trees didn't come from one tree, this is the earliest found. So this is predicated on the basis of the information that we know. And so it's very tempting to just go with the immediate reaction that, you know, because life is so complex, it has to have some masterful creator that's behind this. But what we're understanding, similarly in Balboa's example, is we're learning that the entirety of the universe that we know it is run off of an algorithm, and we're still figuring that out. And so these are the rubrics and these are the pieces that we understand right now at this current juncture. I'm gonna land there.
I believe it's on knowledge, and then it's going to future, and then I'm gonna go.
All right. I'm going to say this right here in regards to it. I think it was you, host, that made a statement. They won't let me host anything for some reason. Oh, okay. So this is what I'll put it in the comments, but I want to look up the Gill thing, and I'm not too sure if we can see. You may have information that doesn't add up to AI. Is AI right, or are you right, or are you wrong? You know what I'm saying? What is it? Because when you spoke about the gills in babies, it says no human babies do not have functional gills, while human embryos develop structures called pharyngeal arches, which resemble the gill arches of a fish. These structures do not develop into gills and are not used for breathing. So when I go look that up, and you told me that human babies have gills, it just makes me wonder who's right. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but is AI right, or are you right based off of your information? And that's the whole thing that I'm talking about. How can I trust ChatGPT? How can I trust AI? You know what I'm saying? And does that not make me feel lazy? Does that not make me, you know what I'm saying, not capable of going out there and doing the research myself and cross-referencing these things with other things, rather than relying on somebody to tell me this, even when I don't know it's this? Shouldn't I get more equipped and have more experiences? Shouldn't I go out there and firsthand have accounts for myself and then bring back that information, opposed to saying something or asking a question and trusting a computer to give me the accurate answer and then arguing that to the point where nobody else can argue it because ChatGPT said it or Google said it? That's all that I'm saying. Are we relying on something for truth when we don't even know if it's truth? And then we go out and tell everybody that it's truth, just like the Bible.
So, sorry, Fusion, really quick. So what I said was I was talking about embryo stages. stages in the embryo. So we are still in the womb. So you kind of already said your answer, because when I said, yeah, we have babies have gill slits within the womb, you just said the thing that I was talking about when you read your definition. It said Gilio, I forget the word that you used, but your explanation literally tells you that yes, inside of the womb, babies have gill slits. They don't develop into full gills because they're not fish. And let me just get this out real quick. We're not fish, so we don't develop the gills. The gills close. It turns into something else. It's this, and I don't want to lose you, but it's the same thing when it comes to the holes in the skulls, where we will call our temples in the snake, it will be completely open, right? Because they live in the snake, it turned into our eardrums, and those bones are still there. And let me just get the information out for you. But when it comes to science, especially when you're looking things up, like if I didn't explain something correctly, please ask me again, or ask me to reiterate or something, because when you're typing it in, and if you're saying, oh, do babies have gills? Yeah, the computer's going to tell you no, because that's crazy. But if you would have said in the embryonic stages, do fetuses have gill slits? It would have told you yes, because they do. And I had this same kind of conversation on another panel when I was talking about how I'm not even going to go there. I'm just gonna let Fusion. I'm gonna hold that because that's gonna turn into a rant. But Fusion, go ahead. You can go before me.
Okay. So we can go into the gill slits real quick. So there is a point behind the references being used, but we're all using the same reference. And I did the exact same thing you did, but asked it in a specific way, which is, do humans have gill slits in any part of the reproduction process? And the answer it gives to that question is yes, in a way. And then it gives the terminology of the gill slit. So what was being said was that humans have gills at a certain point in the process. Now, those gills are not like fish gills. I don't think you actually breathe through those gills or nothing like that. So it's a quick step over to saying something like that, but that's why it's being precise. Okay, just gills. So there are gill slits, and even what you read proves our point in relation to the overall point of the gill slits, which is the evolution of the human from the abiogenic perspective that she's talking about. So this is why we use scientific evidence and what we have and what we know so far to where we can make a range, and it may not be a pinpoint or of an exact point, and this was the first human, or this was the first fish, or this was the first life at this particular time BC, on this particular day when the moon rose and the eclipse. Science isn't even trying to isn't even saying it's going to pinpoint it to that degree. But if you can pinpoint certain things within a certain range scientifically, and this is going back to the just interjecting the intelligent design or the Anunnaki or certain mythologies and things where we have evidence and we have archaeological evidence that predates the date that the Anunnaki would have been, or that Adam was born, or any of that. So we have to look at the fossil records, we have to look at carbon dating, radiometric dating, and different things that we use scientifically. And I heard the white man science comment in the comment. I saw it in the comments. So this is something we've been doing. This isn't white man science, but these are the evidence that we have. So we have to go and use that. Otherwise, we're ignoring physical evidence that we have in relation to these things. And mostly during a scientific inquiry, your goal is to leave the deity in the deity space or in the mythological space, at least until you come to a conclusion on all the physical evidence that you have. So that's more the mode here.
All right. Can I respond to that? Because I did exactly what you said, and I went and looked up, do humans during their development have gills at any time? And I put it in the comments. It literally says, no, humans do not have gills at any point in their development, but human embryos do develop structures called the pharyngeal archive, or the pharyngeal slits, that resemble the gills, arches, and slits found in fish. The structures, however, do not develop into gills in humans. Instead, they form various parts of the jaw, throat, and ear. So what I'm saying is maybe we're literally using the wrong word to describe what humans have, and that's what's messing us up, because we're not using the word right. So we don't have gills, we have something else, but they don't act as gills because gills in fish are needed to breathe. Babies are not breathing through their gills in the womb, and that was what was said, and that's why I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Is it ChatGPT lying, or is it you lying, or is it you misinformed, or is it ChatGPT misinformed? Because until you can present me with babies have gills and they're breathing through those gills, then what are we doing here? Is it true or is it not true? No matter what you say, produce the evidence. I'm putting it in the comments to try to understand it. I'm not trying to argue. I just want to know what it is so that I'm not misinformed. That's why I'm going to do my research to see where you guys are coming from in regards to babies having gills. If they're not functional and if they don't work, then they're not gills. There's something else. So babies don't have gills. They have something else.
Wait, hold on real quick, Fusion. I'm going to let you respond to him right after Balboa because she was waiting. She raised her hand, and then we're going to go to Balboa. We're going to go back to you. You're going to go to Hakeem, and then I'm going to go after all of y'all. Go ahead, Val.
So if you ask this question, it will say yes. The question is, are pharyngeal evidence of evolution from having gills? The answer is yes, right? However, because of evolution, it's not going to form a gill. It's evidence of the previous form, right? But instead, they form other body parts now, where in a fish, it still continues to form gills. So to have the expectation that because we're saying it's linked and that there's a connection, that then therefore we would have gills, is misunderstanding the process that's being explained, which is that we don't have gills anymore. We used to, and now it has evolved into something different. I like my place.
Where does it say that? It's like you're making up stuff to fit your narrative in regards to babies. No, what I'm saying to you, it doesn't say that. There's nowhere where it says we once had gills. They use a different name.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. To be fair, right? You're looking at what you previously looked up. We're trying to further explain it to show you what else to look up. So even when you're saying that I never said, it was an evolutionary process, when I reiterated what I was saying to you earlier, I said, it comes from a time where we used to have gills, right? So now these slits evolve into something else. That's what I said to you. And that's what you read. And then that's what Balboa read. You're reading exactly what I'm saying.
You're changing it. You said babies have gills. That's what made me go look it up. You did not say from a time where we used to have gills. You guys are changing it. You're changing it around to fit your narrative.
No, I'm not changing anything. What happened was I was using the umbrella term of babies. I wasn't saying fetus. I wasn't saying embryos, right? I was saying babies. But to be clear, the conversation was about embryology. So I was talking about everything that's happening inside the womb. And I kept on bringing up pregnancy, right? And relating it back to you because you say the Black woman is God, right? I kept talking about pregnancy in the womb before birth. So I get that I probably should have never said baby. I should have used the scientific terminology for what I was talking about, but I was talking about inside the womb. Never did I met anybody to think that a baby was being born with gills. I'm gonna let that live for a second. We're
They
gonna go
said
to fusion.
there's no possibility through human development that a child, a baby, an embryo, or a zygote has gills. So there's no way that you
Explain.
can justify it. They don't have gills. Humans don't
Explain.
have gills. Flat out. You
Explain.
can't flip it how
Explain.
you want to flip it and then try to put it back out there. Babies don't have gills. Embryos don't have gills. You guys said they once had gills, and then you had said that babies have gills. That's what they breathe through. I knew it was wrong. That's why I went and did my research. And then I came back to you and showed you evidence that this is what the internet says. Because you guys are using Chat GPT, you guys are using the internet to substantiate your claims. You're saying that this is why it's this way, the great wolf and these things. So whose right was my basis, you or the internet? Is the internet wrong and you're right, or are you right and the internet's wrong? That's what I'm
No, I just
confused
think
with
you're
right now.
having
That's
a
what I started
gross
talking about.
misunderstanding about
It's
the
no
Explain Aquaman.
information,
misunderstanding.
and that's fine, right? We're gonna, because we're gonna still talk about this. So I'm pretty sure other people want to comment, but in all reality, I feel like you're having a gross misunderstanding, and you're pinpointing the word gill. But if I was to say the phylogellum, would you have and would you have known what that was? No, you would have looked
No,
it up, and
no.
then it would have said
Right.
it's it's a version of a gill, because that's what Balboa just told you.
Okay. But if
Literally,
it
we're
doesn't
giving you the
act like a,
information,
okay.
but that's
What is it?
fine. That's
Okay, what is a
fine.
gill used for? What is a gill used for? To breathe in a
That's
fish,
not
right?
what the conversation is
So
about.
we're not,
But
what is
So how
you?
could
I
you
get
have
it.
a gill if
I
its
get it.
function is not being
I have
used?
an answer for that.
I get it. I get it. Just give me a second and let me let the other people speak as well. We're going to
No
fusion,
problem.
Hakeem, and then we'll go back to we'll go to just give me fusion and Hakeem real quick.
Okay. So when you were talking about gills, I don't remember you saying that these were supposed to be gills that like a fish, or like that you can even breathe through, or fully developed gills like a fish. Like, if we're looking at the term gills and related to the gills on a fish, um, in fully developed gills on a fish, not half developed and then changes into the ear and things like that, a fully developed gill on a fish. I don't think that was said. Were you speaking of gills that we can actually breathe through, that in embryology, that humans had the gills and we breathe through those gills like fish? Was that what you were talking about, Issa?
No, not at all.
I was just making sure I heard the things correctly, because I didn't hear that. So I heard actually exactly what um, you, Boa, and even number 5 typed in. Basically, I heard you say the same thing in a simple way. So gills in humans, and in relation to how you look up the question, because if you look up the question, being the question that I typed, which you didn't type the exact what I typed into what you repeated, but also if you Google or use whatever book or reference you want to use, and you can go to the library and get an embryology book and answer that same question, and or um, a biology book on evolution and get that same question and see if you get that same answer, which generally you do. And in embryology and in different scientific literature, they use the word gill slits as a scientific term to refer to things, but they know that when they say gill slits, they're not speaking of a fish gill. They're speaking of a very specific time in the process for a very specific area, and everything is well known exactly what they say when they mean gills, when they say gill slits, even though they're not talking about gills as on a fish that you breathe through.
The hell, gill? What type of gills you talking about?
Hold on, Black, not tonight. Hakeem is on you.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to help my brother King Knowledge, and this would give you a lead to go on far as research, because I'm actually against this position myself. But we got to be able to understand that in science, there is the foundation of the philosophy of science, because you can have evidence, but at the end of the day, that evidence has to be interpreted. People remove the aspect of interpretation, and there's an element called homology, which basically is taking something that looks like something and then making the correlation. And that's a matter of interpretation and not fact. And that is one of the flaws of the scientific method that have been challenged on many fronts. And if you take out time to deal with this particular method, and some of the scientists that have challenged it in the scientific community, it's a matter of looking at something that has an appearance, and they interpret that as such, but it only has the evidence of appearance. Just because something looks like something, that doesn't establish it as such. And that terminology is homology. So that's something to look into, because that's something that we got to be able to realize, that science is a way of thinking. It is not just regurgitating information.
Thank you for that. I'll do my research better next time. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I am very
Okay.
much have a method
We're
to
going
it all.
to Balboa. We're gonna go to Balboa. Jonathan, I saw your hand. I got you.
So, in regards to, and I'm gonna lay beside it something else as well, right? But to begin with, the pharyngeal arches, right? If you look into the correlation between how pharyngeal arches develop in animals, not just in humans and not just in fish, it actually borders into other animals as well. There are images that I can cam up and show you right now, right? And I've seen this. My first major was biochemistry, right? So you should be able to find this, which shows the correlation between embryos for fish, salamander, tortoises, chickens, hogs, calf, rabbits, and humans. Very similar. They all have, guess what? Pharyngeal arches. However, obviously, we don't look like a chicken when we're full grown, and we definitely don't look like a fish. The point of it is that the pharyngeal arch has, through evolution, branched into different phenomenon, right? And in each phenomenon, that pharyngeal arch became something different. How do they know that they're still similar? Because it is deeper than just the word. It is deeper than just the name. It is, listen, Black, you can go. I promise you that. It is deeper than just the word or the terminology. It has to do with the type of cells that are in each, right? So I lay that there for you to look into. I don't know if I'm going to try to see if I can post the picture in the comments so that people can open it up and see it for themselves. That being said, another example of this kind of phenomenon, which actually still exists, right? Because I think we're kind of getting stuck on, well, why we don't have gills. When what we're not understanding is the pharyngeal arches in human beings actually develop into parts of our body, like certain types of cartilage, like in the ear, or other parts of the body. If you Google it, you're going to find it, right? That being said, another phenomenon with humans that evolution is, if you've ever seen somebody, right, and it's easier to see it like on a woman, right? Women have breasts, women have nipples, those men have nipples as well, right? People will have a what seems like a nipple, but it which actually is a nipple, right? If it falls in line with the line of the nipple on your body, whether it be above or below, it's actually a remnant of the fact that there were multiple nipples at one point, just like other animals. And you've seen it on a cat, on a dog, on a cow, right? Those multiple nipples, we lost the need for them. And so we generally don't have it, but there are still human beings that do, that still have that third nipple, the fourth nipple, that is an example of that. Right now, they probably don't pay it attention, depending on who it is. It may be small to where you would ignore it. You might even think it's a mole, right? But it can actually become enlarged, where it'll be evident that that looks very much like a nipple. But previously, earlier in the timeline, that would have been more prominent and it had actual use at the time, right? So that's just an example of things that you can still see happening today in life that is still connected to the history of what it used to be, right? And the whole topic that we're on here is evolution and how things change over time. I just wanted to give an example of things that are still existing and can be seen in life that is a connection to that timeline, just the way pharyngeal arches evolved and operates differently at this time. I'm done.
I just want to say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And but seriously though, y'all, like life did not randomly, spontaneously come about. It goes against science to say that. I think it's the second law of thermodynamics that states that the universe, in our universe, entropy is always increasing. Entropy is a measure of disorder. So the more entropy in the system, the more randomized it is. And so for it to actually spontaneously, for the universe to spontaneously order itself, that's not science. And to give an example, in computers, we have a binary code, a code of ones and zeros. And I can't like randomly fill a disk and come up with an operating system that is self-replicating, fully functioning. Like that just isn't going to happen. I can't just throw magnets against some computer disk and magically end up with Windows. And if that's, hard in a binary system, we got to realize our protein synthesis happens through a quaternary code. Our DNA contains 4 base pairs, and the order of these base pairs form codons, and these codons produce, they order our amino acids, which produce proteins, and these proteins grow and they become enzymes. They become part of your cellular membrane, your organelles. Like we have a fully functioning biological machine, basically built on code. That code did not come about randomly. That's not one of these questions. Can a monkey write Shakespeare? Like that just doesn't happen. And so I would say that science actually proves that there's information, and the information is in our bodies, in every living thing on Earth, and information implies intelligence.
Okay. I'm going to hold my point till after King Knowledge. Go ahead, King Knowledge. Thank you for being patient, everybody. I really appreciate everybody.
Yeah. You have to. I'm listening at this point. So.
Sorry, Cosmic. Got you. You can go before me, Cosmic. I'm sorry.
All right, peace, everybody. It would seem like the term gills is incorrect. I guess pharyngeal arches is the structure that we share with fish that then develop. I think, and we all kind of like, beating this to death, but the correct term seems to be pharyngeal arches. We share that biological structure with vertebrae, so to speak, and then it develops into different, organic structures for different species. For us, it develops into the jaws. For fish, it develops into gills. So I guess it's just being detailed in reference to how it's being referred to versus general.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to say that earlier. Like I should have said the actual terms for, the actual embryology terms, or I should have said the phalangeal arches. But like if I would have said the phalangeal arches and then somebody would have said, well, what does that mean? my New York and me would have just said, yeah, it's like early stages of Gills, and then we would have been here anyway. Like that's how I kind of feel about it, but you know, whatever. As far as this thing about evolution being random, I don't know why when people hear things are coming together to create a more complex life, and then I don't understand where y'all are hearing this is a random process. This is like baking a cake before you have the recipe to make a cake. That means you don't know how many cups of sugar it's going to take. You don't know how many cups of flour it's going to take. You don't know how many cups of milk it's going to take. You're just going to figure it out. And that's what evolution is. A bunch of things coming together and figuring it out. Some of them came together and it didn't work out. And guess what? They're extinct. And some came together and figured it out. And guess what? A fucking asteroid came through and hit the earth, and they was extinct. Like, I guess that's the random part. But in all reality, none of this is random. I simplify it for the most part, like when I make comparisons to the pharyngeal arches and gills, but for everything that I'm saying, nothing in this is just random things coming together. It's things coming together, and if it works out, they live, and if they don't, they won't. The point is reproduction. We all know that. And if you can reproduce, that's what you're going to be able to do. With that being said, I'm sorry, the comments, but I think I saw Jonathan
Yeah.
Tan. I think I saw
okay.
Kingnologist.
Sorry about that. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're good.
I just want to say science is based off observation. And if we never observed a natural system developing a complex code, then we can't say that it was developed by itself. Like we cannot definitively say that. And then I also want to say that science can't prove any truth. And the reason is use a method of called induction. And by its nature, induction can never produce truth. Deduction can, but there's caveats in that too. Like depends on what axioms and assumptions you make. But science cannot prove anything to be true. It can only say that there's enough evidence to suggest something or reject something.
I think that is incorrect, for one. And at least when talking about abiogenesis, we have experiments, but I'll talk about it after King Knowledge. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Now, I think a lot of people, when I speak, I would just like to get things correct. But we have a hard time with accepting when we're wrong about something. When we're wrong about something, we don't want to accept that. We want to keep on and push it and then change it into something else. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have in actually being intelligent. When you're intelligent, you can confess and say, okay, I was misquoted, I was miswrong, I'm miseducated. Thank you for educating me. Thank you for going and making me do my research about something that I didn't know about. In regards to box 7, I'm not coming at you, but you flipped everything around and started talking about the farting angeles, to the point where you still has not said that those are not gills. No way, no how. Those are not gills. So until you can accept those are not gills, you don't use them for breathing, and at no point through human development do you grow gills, then we're not getting anywhere. All we're getting is justification, somebody literally oblivious and in denial to the fact that they're wrong. Just accept when you're wrong. You was wrong. Babies and humans don't grow gills. There's another term for it, and they don't do what gills do. So if you keep promoting it like this is what it does, and it evolved into this, and it evolved into that, it didn't evolve into nothing. It is exactly what it says it is until somebody puts their spin on it. Like people in religion, like Box 11, saying that there's no proof in science. Science is a study of nature. It's literally factual. It's based off of, we know that's dirt. We know that's grass. We know that's a tree. We know what it does. We know what carbon is. We know these things. Religion is based off of belief. So when you're talking about a God or a deity creating this and creating that, we have to question your mentality in this conversation because we're basing this conversation off of science. That has nothing to do with religion. Religion is something that they want you to believe in. Science is something that you can prove. It's evidence, logic, and reason. And you got to get with that because the conversation doesn't go together. But in regards to it, if I'm wrong about something, because I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the universe, I will come and tell you that I'm miseducated. I was wrong, and I will thank you. Just like I feel like you should do, Box 7. I feel like you should say, excuse me, I was wrong, instead of justifying how you could be right by over talking about something that wasn't the founding of the conversation. We were talking about gills. Now you're sucking into it in something totally different. It's not gills. So that's all that I was trying to say is babies don't have gills. No point through human development do babies grow gills. And that should be like, okay, you're right. Thank you. Now that I know that, I will go on with a better sense of knowledge. Babies don't have gills. Humans don't have gills. That's simple. Fish do. And fish use their gills to actually be in the water. We don't. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Hey, real quick, just to that one.
I got you. So first of all, what my sis did was explain to you why you were stuck in your misunderstanding. And it seems to me that you are still stuck. What I did and confessed to was the fact that I simpled what a pharyngeal slit was to speak to people that are new to this kind of information. I shouldn't have done that. And I said that. But your inability to understand that this pharyngeal slit, which is called a gill slit in science, it's called a gill slit in science. It's something that us as humans and fish both have. But because we are later versions, a human being's only been around for 300,000 years. Fish, millions. Their pharyngeal slit that we both have in us, it grows into something else. So yes, I will give you this victory that is not a true gill. But I'm also going to give you that I never said that it was. I was always talking about the embryonic stage, and I was always just making a comparison, and you're running with it at this point. To the point that we can't even get back to the conversation because we're still stuck on pharyngeal gill slits. Like, it's getting a little ridiculous. But I'm going to let you have it because it's new information.
How is it getting ridiculous when she spoke about it, you spoke about it, the guy in the bottom, box 10 spoke about it, number 3 spoke about it before he left? Everybody spoke about it. I was done with it and they brought it back up. So it's only a problem.
Please like and subscribe to the Duel of Concepts YouTube channel. Don't forget to enable notifications to stay updated with our latest content. We also value your thoughts. Watch, comment, and engage. Your support fuels our growth, and we truly appreciate it.